Because it's going to be forever on the camera. But still, Chuzdat Chosn Kala also, Yeshua Chaim and Chayes Kala. So they should also have a Binad Yad.
Amen.
Alidei Yesoid Atad Mitzvah. And all good things. I had a couple of drinks already, so this is going to be a very smooth thing learning. Let's see. All right. I actually, so want to finish. Last week we discussed the Zoyar, we discussed the Zoyar, and we discussed the different halachas of putting on tefillin on Chol Hamoed. Came to Maskana that it was a progression. Started with everyone saying that you put on tefillin with the b'dacha. Later on they took off the b'dacha. Later on they took off the tefillin. That if you put on tefillin, okay, fine, don't make a b'dacha, don't make noise. Yeah. Eventually, it came out to not only do the Sfardim that believed in the Zohar in the Kabbalah right away, not put on tefillin, even Ashkenazim don't put on tefillin. As I dug a little further, I found out someone wrote that the Gdos Talmidim, unlike I said last week, that they did not put on tefillin because the Gdos was a Mal Kabbalah, was a Kabbalist. But they wrote differently. He didn't do it because of Kabbalah, because he agreed with the other shit that La'ois means also Chol Hamoed, and therefore he said not to put on tefillin. I don't know. That's what someone said. Just to finish off, I didn't finish off last week. So how did it get to the fact that there was all these years halacha was written saying you put on tefillin, that you put on tefillin without halacha, then Kabbalah comes and knocks the whole thing down. So the Alter writes in the Hilchos Tefillin, Alter writes in other places also, that whenever there is a machloikes with Shas, with Gemara and Zoyar, we pass on like the Gemara. Even though the Zohar understood things differently, more in a lofty way, in a hechada, the worldly matters, but we pass and we go according to Shasta, because it's a clear Gemara.
In this case, we don't.
And here there's no Gemara. There's no clear Gemara. We have a Mishnah here that says that you can put film, you can write film la'atzma, you can write film yourself. And Rashi says, why would you write film for yourself? Because you want to use Chol Hamoed. So it's not a clear halach. It doesn't say clear in Mishnayos and in Gemara that you put on film Chol Hamoed. And if in such a case, when the Talmud doesn't, the Shas doesn't bring anything down, and the Zohar says a certain thing, we paskin according to the Zohar, and therefore years later, how can they paskin this way? And to explain what does it mean here then that a person writes tefillin for himself, if you're not going to use it on Chol Hamoed, how can you write tefillin? It's a malacha, it's work, it's this, it's that. You ask, ask your brother, the Seiflim, how much work goes into it. So the Shonim explain that it's actually not meant to use right away, that it's meant that a Chol Hamoed have time to write it, so that the day after Chol Hamoed, the day after Yom Tov is over, I have tefillin ready to use. That's how they explain this idea, writing tefillin for themselves. But for other ones, that's a machloikas. It can only do as a favor, or you can only do a hadama, you can make a trick, where you give them your own tefillin, which the Baal Halacha, this is a story brought down in the Tzizis here, that they brought tefillin. Someone came to the Chanana, which was a Sefer. They asked him to write tefillin, and the Chanana came and he went to ask the Moed of that time. He asked the Banim of that time what it should do, and one guy said, "Yeah, make a trick. Give him your own tefillin and write yourself a new pair of tefillin on Chol Hamoed, even though you're not going to use it after Yom Tov." And the other Paisek said that you don't have to do it. You can write it straight, because we have it clear that you're allowed to write. You're allowed to write tefillin. The last thing we learned was also the Mishnah finished off with Tova Tzizis on your thigh. You can spin the tcheles string of tzitzis. We don't do that today, but in those days when they did it, so that was the most important part of the tzitzis. Without that, the whole tzitzis was puzzle. But Melem, it was important.
There's some guys that have it today.
Which a machlok is a Messiah, where they got it, they didn't get it, if they went to the Vatican, now we see the Vatican wants to get everything back, so let's see, I don't know. Right? They saw somewhere that the Vatican wants to start giving stuff back.
They have tchelis there?
They have they officially have the what's it called, the paroichas, they have everything that had tchelis in it, so you can.
The challenge is, even what I had learned, I'd read something about this, even if you know what the tchelis is, there's no clear Masorah, Dor Achar Dor. So even if you know exactly what it is, it comes to deal with these genetic things too.
It comes from a fish that officially goes out of the ocean only once every 70 years. So it's a whole.
No, but even like even for example, a Cohen, a person says, I did the DNA test and I'm a Cohen. It still doesn't count for
it's not enough.
Even though he probably is a Cohen, but it still doesn't
you
count.
have to have someone. Yeah.
It has to be
The Vatican
clear.
has Peruchesen from Beis Hamikdash?
The Vatican has many things from Beis Hamikdash. That's pretty much known. Has many things from Beis Hamikdash. The story goes that one guy somehow got in there and saw what color it was. So he was able to find the fish that has that color that the animal in the chilozim. If you don't know what the chilozim is.
It's officially hidden, like it's in a bunker.
Yeah.
It's not in a museum that everybody could see it.
I don't think so. I don't know. I don't think so. I think it's pretty much
Never heard this.
Well, here comes the whole thing that the famous menorah that you see, the Arch of Titus, that he was walking with the menorah, right? Last week, Mendy gave a share by what's it called? The Arch of Titus has the menorah of Beis Hamikdash, and it's a circle menorah. It's not like the Rambam writes. And so, what's pshat? So first of all, Pashat pshat. I think the rabbis say writes that in the time of Beis Hamikdash, when Shlomo Melech built the second Beis Hamikdash, the Shlomo Melech built the first Beis Hamikdash, he put in the Heichel and put outside a bunch of beautiful menorahs. He put I think 12 on each side or 6 on each side, I forgot. And it could be that he grabbed one of those menorahs, and those were tucked around. Why? Because there's a maskunta l'sasakamoy. You cannot copy the menorah, so he didn't make it the same way. He made it right. Anyways, that's what I have Arch and Titus. They have a lot of stuff there. Anyways, so the tchelis is an important part, integral part of Tzizis, and you cannot spin it on Yontif. You could find a way not to spin it in a professional way. So the professional way would be that you have a spindle, a machine made for it. And the non-professional way is that you tie it around your foot. How exactly it's done? I would think that when you grab when you want to spin something, make it thin, you can tie it around your leg and put some heavy weight on bottom and swing your leg, and it starts spinning, and it starts getting thinner. Starts rolling up as one thing. So that's I think what they were talking about. So on Chol Hamoed, if you need tcheles, you cannot go and have it done by machine. Here you can make a shinui. Tefilin, you can make a shinui. Tzizis says tefilin, you cannot make. How are you going to write a shinui? And Tzizis brings that in the olden days they would write, when they write a letter, I brought this on a few weeks ago, that would write in a circular motion. And any case, tefilin you cannot write a shinui. But making tchelis, you can find a shinui. So they say you put it on your thigh and swing it around somehow. Zog the Gemara. So we're holding at the 2 dots of Tova, al yirecha et tchelis. Daf Yites Amud Aleph, v'Tova yirecha et tchelis. Said in the Mishnah, that on your thigh you can spin. You can spin tchelis. Zog the Gemara, Tan Rabban. Tov Adam al yirecha tchelis Tzizis. A person can spin on his thigh tchelis for his tzitzis, avaloi be'evan, but not with a rock. What would the rock do? If you hang up, the strings of tchelis on a rock and then spin the rock, then it would spin much faster, and it would make a string much easier. You could do it with a stone. Rabbi Yehuda says in the name of Aveilus, you can do it with a rock, but you cannot do it with a spindle. Chachamim say no, you can do it with an evan, you can do it with a rock, with a stone, or with a spindle. Gonna finish off this entire Gemara about tefillin and spinning tchelis. Halacha bein bo'even bein b'falach. You can spin your tchelis and Chol Hamoed both with a stone and with a spindle. The halacha is also the kois v'gedanka mochid u'nasasa. You can write regularly, going back to tefillin, and mochid u'nasasa, and you can sell if it needs panasa. And here's the 2 pshatim again, whether it means to have steak instead of shakai roast, or it means just to put food down on the table.
Coach Fitz says that Safram need to have revach, not just cheap.
I'm asking. Everyone needs to have revach. There's like a panasis for a goy, a shirus is for you, right?
Yeah.
Zog the heilige Mishnah weiter. Okay, now pretty much the next going on right now, we're going to be talking about Aveilus, all the different halachas on Aveilus. We had spoken about Aveilus before, but now pretty much this is where the focus of the Gemara is going to go. We discussed not cutting hair. We discussed not washing themselves. We discussed writing or not writing, or what you could write. And now we're going to apply all this towards Aveilus and learn more halachas about Aveilus. So here is an interesting Mishnah. The Mishnah discusses the concept of Shiva when do you sit 7 days of Shiva, and when do you not sit at all? When do you sit a little bit? If someone buries his dead 3 days before the Yontif, they take off of him the whole concept of Shiva, which means let's say, for example, Yontif is, for the easiest example to remember, the Yontif is Sunday night. So Friday, the person died, was buried Friday. We're talking about HaKoivel, when the person is buried, not when the person dies. Because, as we know, the Shiva starts really from the day the person is buried, not from the day the person has died. The Yahrzeit is going to be on the day of the death. I believe the Shloishim also goes according to the day of the death. But the Shiva begins and ends from begins and counts 7 days from the day that the person was buried. So if a person died 3 days before Yontif, so Friday the person died, it was buried, and now you have Friday, Shabbos, and Sunday. So what happens? Comes Yontif, Shiva goes down. Okay? Shmoina, and again, Shabbos, you have many halachas of Shiva, definitely things that are betzina, things that are hidden, like Tashma Shemitah or other things that are betzina, you have to keep on Shabbos as well. Mashenkin, everything begoli, you do not keep on Shabbos. But what happens when Yontif comes? Everything goes down. You're allowed to do everything. If the person dies, let's say the Sunday before Yontif, now you have exactly 8 days until Yontif, so you sit through the 7 days of Shiva. The 8th day, which is Erev Yontif, is the first day of Shloshim, because you went into the Shloshim a little bit. Therefore, on Erev Yontif, after Chatzos, the whole Shloshim goes down. And what difference does it make for us? You can now you can buy new clothing, you can technically take a haircut. The halacha is that, by the Sfad, the halacha is that a person, it says on a father and a mother, if you sit, someone is sitting Shiva on a father and a mother, so afterwards when he gets up, he should not cut his hair until his people scream at him, tell him that, you look already, it doesn't look good. So at the Chomer Meshayra, it's about 3 months. That's why today we keep the hair growing about 3 months. The Sfadim have a different minute. They have someone screaming at him a week after the Shloshim, and they cut the hair. And by us, we wait till someone's screaming, someone is even. Anyways, so basically the Gemara says that if 8 days before Yontif someone passes away, then on Yontif it takes off the entire Shloshim and you can cut your hair out of Yontif. It's mevatel gzer Shloshim. B'nei she'amu, because they said Shabbos oila ve'eina mafsekas. Shabbos is counted part of the 7, but it is not cut off. What does that mean? That the person is buried on Friday. Friday is day 1. Shabbos is day 2. You don't sit Shiva on Shabbos, but Shabbos is counted as day 2. And Sunday you start count 3, and it goes on until you finish a Shiva. Yontif is different. The golem of Sikim ve'en lolim. The golem is different. If someone dies during Yontif, you don't sit Shiva at all. But Yontif is over. Now you start sitting Shiva. That's one way of looking at it. The other way of looking at it, which is a pshat brought down in Rashi, and we're going to discuss it soon, that if we said, the Mishnah said 3 days before Yontif. What if a person dies 2 days before Yontif? Not 3 days. 2 days before Yontif, a person dies. So according to this pshat, 2 days you sit Shiva. Comes Yontif, you stop sitting Shiva. You don't count the days of Yontif as part of Shiva. After Yontif is over, you continue 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's a pshat. That's a pshat in Rashi. We're going to go back to this in a moment. Okay? And on a side note, the Shlosh Yomim, that Tosfos says, it says that Gimel L'Bchia and Shiva L'Hesped, 7 days is for crying, and 3 days is for crying, and 7 days is for Hesped, for talking about it. And we know actually, when we're trained by Chai Lifeline, we know that there's the concept in psychology. The Goyim realize that the Yidden's way of mourning is the healthiest way of mourning. The fact that the Eibusha told us we have to sit down for 3 days, the hardest days, and then the 7 days, and then the Shloshim, we have to sit down and talk about them and discuss. It helps us process the pain. When we get out of it, we can move on. When you don't have that, it's very difficult. It's very difficult to process that, to move on when you don't have that. Everyone grieves differently, but in general, that's the so Gimel L'Bchia, the first 3 days of the Bchia, those are the hardest, those are the ikar days of Aveilus, and there are some halachas different in those days than Shiva days. For example, what I saw is from the examples that if someone greets you during the Shiva, you cannot greet anyone. But if someone greets you, you can maybe like say back something, but in the first 3 days, you're supposed to tell him, no, I'm an oval. Like, don't greet me, I'm an oval. And that, amongst other things, I'm not sure exactly Baruch Hashem I never needed it. So, hopefully never will, but without Bias Mashiach Tzidkenu. Okay, but Shabbos oil levinim afsekas. Shabbos is counted part of the 7 minutes, but does not cut down the you don't cut and you start counting now day 3 after on Sunday. They start day 2 on Sunday. The golim afsikim and oilim and golim do make a stop and is not counted part of the shiva, and you have to count again afterwards. We know that Shavuos back in the Beis Hamikdash, what we call Chabad Chassidim definitely know about it, was they made Tashlum after Shavuos. Shavuos is on the 6th day of Sivan. So you have 6, we have 7 days of Yontiv, and then we have 5 days that we don't say Tachanun. And we have Fishlas the Hesped and those things. But time Beis Hamikdash, those were the 5 days where you could bring a Korban, made Tashlum. If you missed Yontif, Chagiga, whatever Yontif missed, Korban you missed, you can bring the Beis Hamikdash. In Beis Hamikdash times, it was mamish a real Yontif. It was felt that it was part of a Yontif. So back in those days, apparently, if someone passed away before Shavuos, you say if you passed away a couple of days before Shavuos, you didn't, you sat as long, and then the thing was this battle. If you sat, I guess if he passed away during Meit Shlom, there was a difficult question whether it's not a count or not. But if someone passed away a couple days before Shavuos took away the entire shiva. So Zogt Aveilus, Mishachol Beis Hamikdash, not the Beis Hamikdash is Cholov, and the whole Yontif of Shavuos is only 1 day. So where do we see 1 day? We have Shabbos is 1 day. So Atzeres is Shabbos. Atzeres goes like Shabbos. And what? That someone passes away for Shavuos, you count day 1. Shavuos is going to be day 2, and the day after Shavuos is going to be day 3, and it does not take off the shiva. That's what Aveilus says. He says about something else. Rosh Hashanah v'Yom Kippurim k'Regalim. The Rosh Hashanah has 2 days, which is 1 long day, and Yom Kippurim is considered like Yontif. What does that mean again? If someone passes away right before Hashanah, right before Yom Kippur, the shiva is done. So we have the Tanakama, and no one disagrees with the Tanakama. 3 days before Yontif, you finish the shiva. If it's less than 3 days, apparently you do such shiva. You do split it in 2 halves before Yontif and after Yontif. And the Blazer speaks about something else. He speaks about Shavuos. Abba Gamliel speaks about something else again. He speaks about Hashanah Yom Kippur. Chachamim disagree with the Blazer and Abba Gamliel, and they said Lo Kedei Vazeh V'Lo Kedei Vazeh. El Atzeres Ke'Regalim. Atzeres stays like a Yontif. It's part of the Shalosh Regalim, which means that before Shavuos, if someone passes away, Atzeres is mafsik. He's done with the shiva, and Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippurim is considered like Shabbos, and basically it's counted part of the shiva days, but you still have to continue sitting shiva. Okay.
Is that halacha l'maisa?
No, that's not halacha l'maisa. We're going to get in a moment. That's not halacha l'maisa. We're going to get back into it in a moment. Omar Rav had Rav gesagt. When we're talking about the shloishim, so we said that if someone passed away 8 days before Yontif, actually, I forgot. They made little charts. Why not? These charts are cool. I have a on the other side. So on the first chart, we have someone passed away on Friday. Passed away on Friday, so we count Friday day 1, day 2, day 3. If Pesach comes in, after Yontif, you stop counting. The 4:30 or 6:30 we'll do in a second. If someone passes away 8 days before, so he sits the entire shiva, comes day number 8, it's already the first part of Shloishim, and because of that, after Pesach, you don't count anything. Done. Someone passes away during Yontif, you start only counting the shiva after Yontif. However, interestingly now, he passed away on a Friday. He was buried on Friday. Friday will be day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, day 6, day 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. As soon as Shiva is over, you don't count day 8 of Shloshim. You count day 12 of Shloshim. You count the 30th because you count the day of death. And the same thing also with the first part. There's actually a machlokes whether if the person counts 1 day 3 and then Shiva is this battle, how do you continue the count after Pesach? So here, 1, 2, 3 technically will be 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7 because you finish Shiva. Then Pesach, is the first day of Pesach is 8. So it's 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And after, the 16, basically your Shloshim becomes shorter according to some shittas. So here you have a Yontif, that all of a sudden Yontif is like 70. If someone passed away the day out of Yontif, the first 2 days is considered 14 days. And then, okay.
1 second, 12 out of 30 over here in this chart means that you're starting Shiva here.
You start Shiva here. But you count already 1, 2, 3, 4, and if it dies here, the count is even more.
Yeah, okay.
Count is even bigger.
I mistake.
Sagt die Gemara, when we're talking about Shloishim, that 8 day before Yantiv, someone passes away, we said the Shloishim goes down. But I have gesagt, the Gzeira, the decree of Shloishim, goes down. But the Yamim, the counting of days, does not go down. What does that mean? We'll say in a moment. Ravuna said the same thing. But Rav Sheshes says, I feel Yom Nam Batla. The entire concept of Shloshim goes down. Not only the Gzeira, the decree of Shloshim, but also the days itself. My time here means, what does that mean? What does it mean that we now have Yomim? What does it mean Gzeira? What does it mean Yomim? So Gzeira means the decree, which means all the different halachas. What does Yomim mean? What does Yomim Bata mean? It puts it in limbo. The Gzeira right now at Yontev, you're allowed to cut your hair, you're allowed to buy new clothing, or whatever those halachas are that the Shloshim, that you're not allowed to do in the Shloshim. But Yomim Leiblatim means that I'm going to look at you. I'm going to observe you. Are you serious about taking off the halachas of Shloshim? If yes, it goes down. If not, it's hanging in limbo in the air, and we'll put some halachas back on you. What does that mean? You had time to shave, to cut your hair before Yantiv, and he didn't do it, even though you know that you're allowed to cut your hair. After Yantiv, you have to start continuing counting the Shloshim. Why? Because you show that you don't care about the taking it down. So Zakti Yom Lebata means that it goes on. Rav Sheshes, what did Rav Sheshes say? Rav Sheshes said that even that doesn't make a difference what you want to do or not do. The fact is, it's down, it's over. Zakti Gemara Vehotanya, and we learned in Aveilus. This is a proof, not a question. Hakoyves meis a shloish yom koydem leregel. That someone buries someone 3 days before Yom Tov. Batla men exer shiva. If it goes down to shiva, a shmoyni yom koydem leregel. Batla men exer shloishim. The 30 goes down. Omegalech erf regel, and he cuts his hair before Yom Tov. But even loy gilach elef regel, if he did not shave, he cut his hair. Also legelech achar regel. So here see a clear proof from Aveilus that yes, once the shloishim goes down, if you had 8 days. 7 days of Shiva plus 1 day of Shloishim, that if you did use out that heta, then Shloishim Taka goes down. But if you did not use it out, you're showing that you don't care about it, you don't want it, and the Shloishim goes back up. It still applies to you. Abba Shol disagrees and he holds like of Shasers, that once the Shloishim goes down, it goes down in totally. You're allowed to cut your hair after the egel, even though you didn't cut before. Why? Because the same way 3 days take off the 7 days of Shiva. Kach mitzvah Shiva. So also the sitting 7 days in Shiva take off the Shloshim. And right away the Gemara asks, well, who's talking about 7? We said that 8 days take down Shloshim, not 7 days. So the Gemara kasha Shiva v'anan shemaynatan. We learned the Mishnah 8. Kasava Abashol miktzazim kikuloi v'yem shvi oil lekan lekan. Abashol holds that a little bit of 7, and that's what we do today. On the 7th day of Shiva, we only do Shacharis, and then we scream at the person, get up, get up, get up, because we hold like Abashol that you have to only sit a little bit of Shiva on the 7th day. So he says, you don't need, if you flip over the page, you don't need full 7 days. Oopsie, I made the full 7 days. Look at the second chart. You take off the first mistake. Full 7 days. You don't need full 8 days before. You need 7 days. Why? Because on the 7th day, which is Erev Yontif, part of it is going to be considered 7, and part of it is going to be considered 8. And if it's considered 8, it has a little bit of Shloshim, and after Yontif, the whole thing is over.
Oiloi Lakan means for 7 and for 8.
Yes, a little bit of 7 Lakan, or Lakan a little bit of 8. So now I'm having a split. I'm splitting in half. And so he says the whole thing goes down, and you don't have to, even if you didn't shave or cut your hair or whatever you needed to do before Yontif, you can still do so after Yontif because the whole thing goes down. Amar Avchizda, Amar Avina Ba Shila. Avchizda said the name of Avina Ba Shila. Halacha Kabashol. Halacha is like Abashol. Not only that is halacha Abashol, but the Mechachamim that disagree with Abashol, they actually agree with Abashol in a certain part. Moed Katan Abashol K'shechol Shemini Shelo Liyaz B'Shabbos. If the 8th day is Shabbos, and it's also Erev Yontif, the only time you would be allowed to cut your hair would be Friday, which is only the 7th day. Then the Chacham tell Abashol, I agree with you that a part of 7 is enough. Even though I require full 7 days of Shiva, only then Shloshim goes down and you can cut your hair. If Shabbos is the 8th day, then the 7th day is Friday. I agree with you. Part of Friday is 7, part of Friday is 8. You were Yoitz Shloshim, you can cut your hair and done. That's what the Gemara is saying. So here we know according to Halacha today, we know very clear that if we sit Shiva even 1 hour for Yantif, we should never sit Shiva, but whoever has to sit Shiva 1 hour for Yantif, once Yantif comes, done. Where does it come from? So I'm going to skip because Rashi has a whole thing on the page before. So on Daf Chaf Amud Aleph, we'll skip a little bit, we'll go back. Daf Chaf Amud Aleph, right in the middle of the page, there's a Tzizis that says Kol Makim Shata Moitze. So if you look in the Gemara right next to it, it's Amar Rav Huna. 2 lines below this Tzizis is Amar Rav Huna. Amar Rav Huna b'chia ba'aba ma'berchen v'amulam. Amar b'berchen b'chia ba'aba Rav Huna. Afilu yom echad. Basically, in the name of Yechanan, it was said that if you, even sitting there Shiva 1 day or 1 hour, that's enough, and then the whole Shiva goes down. Rava disagrees. Halacha or Malach Katan Daf. Halacha is like the Tana did done. The Alma Shloisha that said 3. Okay, so here is the source. Well, we have it that we only said Shiva for a little bit. Let's go back to Daf Fites Amud Aleph. You have a Rashi here. In the Mishnah it said that if that Yontif is mafsik, it makes a stop in the Shiva, and is not counted as part of the Shiva. Shabbos would be counted as one of the days of the Shiva. Yontif, you don't continue the count of the Shiva, you cut the Shiva in half, and you. So the first part of Tzizis says, yes, what am I talking about? If someone dies during Shiva, then you don't count, it's mafsik, that there's no Shiva, you buried the dead, there's no Shiva. After Yontif, sorry?
He dies during Shiva, no.
Sorry, died during Yontif. You don't, and you bury the dead, you don't sit Shiva, you stop everything, you continue the Yontif regularly, and then after Yontif, you start sitting Shiva. Okay, that's vein oilimin. Says that's the first part of Rashi. The chikava meis Rashi vein oil. The chikava meis if someone buries his dead during Yontif. The loy batlam and exer Shiva. 7 didn't go down because he was during Yontif. You don't count the days of Yontif for 7 days of Shiva. The 7 you have to sit Shiva 7 days after Yontif. That's what I mean. That's what I understand the meaning of ein oil. I found in a copy somewhere. I found a different thing. What does ein oil mean? The person died 2 days before Yontif, so there wasn't 3 days like an hour Mishnah, only 2 days. What's the halacha then? So it says it then, the loy batlam and exer Shiva, because it's only 2 days, the Shiva doesn't go down. You don't say that the first day of Pesach is day 3 of Shiva. No. Erev Yontif, you stop the Shiva.
Suspended.
You suspend it, and then you go through the Yontif, regular with the Simcha and everything, and after Yontif, you sit back down and continue the Shiva. This is what Rashi's found somewhere. Okay, that's what Rashi found in a different book. It says Rashi, I say, it's a mistake. It's a total mistake. The when the Mishnah says 3 days of Finei Regel, Lav Dafki does not mean specifically 3 days, anytime before Yontif he meant. If you Shachas Finei Regel, bottom Shiva. Why? The Regel is mafsik. So
I think my buddy Benny Kress had this happen. His father passed away, I think, Erev Yom Kippur.
Could be.
They buried him that day.
And that's it done.
And they sat for a couple of hours and then got up.
Done.
Yom Kippur.
And my mother had the opposite way. My grandmother passed away during Chol Moed Sukkos. And the whole Yontif, Simcha, you have to sit, what's it called? And then it's like, yeah. And then you have to start Shiva. We'll imagine going 3 days of Yontif and then Shiva. Anyway, so Rabbi Akiva Eiger, right here, asks a question. What?
Oh, okay.
Rabbi Akiva asks a question. How can Rashi say that it's a mistake? We just saw in the Gemara here that is a machlokes between Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Rabbi Yochanan says, yes, even in 1 hour is enough. And Rabbi says, no, 3. So we see that the Mishnah here said clearly 3. How does Rashi go and explain the Mishnah here that it could be even 1 hour?
It also seems to contradict what he said before. He explains the Mishnah. Kaiver is Mesa Shlosh Yom. It says, Hol v'ikar Aveilus ein Yom Shlosh Yom.
Yeah. Right. So
make up your mind. Which one?
So this it's shver with Rashi is going. What's going on with Rashi over here? It's difficult. What's going on with Rashi here? Zakt. So Zakt. Look in the Gilin Shas, which is what the Bekiva wrote. The Gilin Shas. It's on the inside. And the inside, the middle one. Diva Maskevin in the kan. Gimel Yom Lavdafke. The 3 days is Lavdafke. Koshali. It's very clear in the next Gemara. The Tana Damastis in the Gimel Yom Dafke. When the Tana here said 3 days, he meant it specifically 3 days. Over there, the machlokes over there is whether Rabbi Yochanan agrees with the Tana or whether not. And the Rava says, no, we go according to the Tana. Rabbi Yochanan disagrees, maybe he has a different Tana. But how does Rashi here come and say that our Tana does not mean 3 hours? It's very clear that it means 3 hours. That's the Rabbi Kiva had the question, cautiously. I told you, in the Chassidus we know that there's only kashas. There's no akasha means it's familiar, but I have a difficulty with it. So I have to figure out a way to make it fit. Other people say, no, it's not shaila. Ich verstehe alles. That the problem is in the Gemara. So the other people say we take off these words. Look at the Agosabach. First the Agosabach on top. So he puts in parentheses, this whole part where Rashi says that's a mistake, that we don't say it's 2 days and 5 days, and rather the whatchamacallit, rather that it's only me 1 hour is enough. The entire piece of Rashi delete. In my eyes, it seems simple that Pashut, that it was a simple mistake. She'ez Talmud Toya, some Talmud that was writing it down made a mistake. Kosta Begilin. He wrote this on the Rashi that it's 1 hour is enough. So the Kiva got a question. The Gosabach deletes entire Rashi. So what's pshat? So there's one of the Meforshim in the back of the Gemara here called Poidos Yosef, and he explains very geschmack. He explains that there's a Teisus on Avchav, and Teisus asks a question. Rabbi Yochanan had a klal. The same Rabbi Yochanan said halacha is that 1 hour is enough. He had a klal. He said a klal that whenever there's a stam mishnah, whenever the mishnah has no name, in the case now our mishnah has no name. There's not Umar Meya Rabbi Yehuda. There's no name, and then Rabbi Lazar and Rabbi Gamliel have machlokes, but the first part has no name. So whenever there's a stam mishnah, the halacha is like the stam mishnah. That's what Rabbi Yochanan said. So asks us a question there, right next page, asks us a question. If Rabbi Yochanan said that Stam Mishnah is a man and we go according, Stam Mishnah is halacha Stam Mishnah, so how does Rabbi Yochanan say in the same, almost in the same breath, it says, but we say 1 hour is enough. If the Mishnah, it says 3 hours, and that's a Stam Mishnah, we have to go according where that's the halacha. How does Rabbi Yochanan paskin that 1 hour is enough? Sak Toisves, on Daf Chav from the Aleph, Amar Bechna Fili Mechna Fili Shoachas Kashali. Though Isla Rabbi Yochanan, Lochik is Stam Mishnah, Lochik is like Stam Mishnah. And here the Stam Mishnah says that it's 3 days. How does Rabbi Yochanan say? Afil Shoachas. So explain the Poidos Yosef. Explains the very geschmack. The machlokes between Rabbi Yochanan and Rava was not whether Rabbi Yochanan says I go according to a different Tana. I disagree with this Tana. I disagree. I have another Tana. I have another source. And the Rava says, no, we go according to this Tana. The machlokes was rather, what does this Tana mean? Rabbi Yochanan said, yes, the halacha is like this Tana, but what does this Tana mean? He does not mean 3 hours. He means even 1 hour is enough. The Rava says, no, he means literally 3 hours. The machlokes is not
3 days.
So 3 days. Rabbi Yochanan says it does not mean literally 3 days. It means even 1 hour. The Rava says, no, it literally means 3 days. So the machlokes is not whether I agree with the Tana or not agree with the Tana. Both say the halacha is like the Tana. But the Rabbi Yochanan says halacha is like the Tana. However, the Tana doesn't mean it literally 3 days. 1 hour is enough. The Rabbi says no. How do we know that? Because when we look at the Gemara, what does the Rabbi say? It's very clear. Usually, if the Tana meant 3 days, and everyone agrees that the Tana means 3 days, all the Rabbi had to say was that halacha is like the Tana. That's not what the Rabbi is saying. The Rabbi is saying halacha katana done. Good, that would be good enough. What? The Aman Shloisha, that he said 3. And he meant 3. Here is a proof from the Lashon, the way it's written is proof to say that the Rava was arguing with Rabbi Yochanan, what does the Tana say? Not Whether the halacha is like the Tana, but what does the Tana say? The halacha is like Tana, which means dafka 3. Rabbi Yochanan said the halacha is like the Tana, but it's lav dafka 3. So now the Ashi makes sense. The Ashi goes according to what the Tana means according to Rabbi Yochanan, and Rabbi Yochanan says halacha is kastam. And the questions of the Kiva Ega and the Gosamach go down. So Zayti Ganot.
Why did Rashi explain in the beginning that the Ikar Aveilus is 3 days?
Because that's the truth. The truth is, according to Allah.
But he seems to be saying right there that it's 3 days.
Yes, there is a truth. In halacha, I said in halacha there is a concept of 3 days and 7 days. The halachas of 3 days are more strict, are stricter than the halacha of 7 days. Certain halachas are much stricter. There's 11 things during Shiva, 6 things that during Shloshim,
right.
And during the first 3 days, those even they're very tough. Those first 3 days. Yes, Ikar Aveilus it's true.
Right.
It is true.
But again, Rashi is trying to say over here that really this Tana doesn't mean 3 days. This
Right.
Tana really means 3 hours, 1 hour, whatever it is. Yet, when he explains Akayver es Meister Shleisha Yomim, what is he saying? He seems to be admitting, so to speak, that it's 3 days.
Isn't he
That's
just touching us what the Mishnah is saying?
But if his Taich of the Mishnah is anything, it doesn't literally mean 3 days.
No, it
I
doesn't
hear
mean
what
that he
you're
believes
saying.
That's the halacha.
What?
It doesn't mean that he believes that's the halacha.
No, I'll tell you what the thing is. 3
He's saying
days.
generally, this is what people say. That's 3 days. This is how he's touching us. I don't know.
No, I'll tell you what it is.
Proposing,
The way I think the way it is like this. The Mishnah Taka says 3 days. The Gemara later on adds that 3 days is lav dafka, but 1 hour is enough. But yes, 3 days is the ikka thing, and everyone agrees 3 days is the ikka. However, later on the Gemara comes and shows. So Rashi didn't bring it down in the beginning. Rashi only brought it down later. Why? Because when ve'ein oilin, someone said it's 2, and that you split the yontav and you make it 2 days before yontav, 5 days yontav. Rashi here to say no, that's not true. Taka Ika Shloshim is 3 days, and that's what a Tana is bringing Ika Shiva is 3 days. However, if you're coming to tell me that now 3 days means specifically 3 days, and now I have to split, I have to tell you that's not the Shitta. I have to tell you right now, I have to bavon on you that this is wrong. Maybe that's why it said it. Anyways, so we're back on Daf Yutes, Hamoed Beis, and we finished saying that halacha is like Abba Shol, and the Chacham say that if Elef Yonte falls on a Shabbos, and that is the 8th day after the person is buried, so the 7th day of Shiva is split in half. Half is 7, half is 8, and you can cut is here. That's what they said. Amar Abaye, okay. Halach Gabashol b'yom Shiva. Halach is the Gabashol only in the 7th day. The what? The 7th day miktzas yom kikulei. Part of the day is as if you said Shiva the full day. That's like the halach Gabashol. Moed Chachamim Labashol b'yom Shloshim. The Chachamim say that on the 30th day, over there also miktzas of the 30th day is enough. You don't have to sit the entire 30th day. You can cut here early. Rav Amar halach Gabashol b'yom Shloshim. That to say that part of the day, that's what it is. Part of the day is considered a full day is only by the Yom Shloshim, and again the Chacham agreed with Abashol on the 30th day. I'm going to make some kikule. Rav Amar. Just one second. Whoops, I skipped a couple lines here. Hold on a second. Kaman. Sorry, go back a couple lines. I skipped the line here. Kaman oz lahod Amar Rav Amron. Amarav Avel Kivin Sha'odam Menachem Etzle Mut B'Chitza Kaman Knabashol. According to who does it go? That Amon Amarav said, as soon as the people get up from Shiva and rise with the Avelim, that he's allowed to take a shower. That is according to Abashol, because he said as soon as they rise and go away, the Shiva is over, and even though the 7th day did not complete. And that's it. Amar Abaye Aloch Abashol B'Shiva Menachem LaAbashol B'Shloshim. That on the 7th day it makes the same kikule. Half part of the day is as if he said a full day, and a Chacham agree with him with Abashol if it's a 30th day. And Rav Amar Aloch Abashol b'yom Shloshim ve'en Aloch Abashol b'yom Shiva. And Rav says the Aloch is not like Abashol on the 7th day. The 7th day you do have to sit a full day according to that one. Hadoy Amar Amri, and the Chacham of Nadoy said Aloch Abashol b'zu u'b'zu. Aloch Abashol is both by Shiva. That the little bit of Shiva is enough, and the Shloshim also the 30th day. If you sit a little bit, a little bit of 30th is already enough. Why? The Amashmu Loch Kediva Meichel V'Avel. When it comes to Aveilus, we go according to the most lenient shita. Now we discuss shloshim the whole time. Where does this whole concept of shloshim come in? It doesn't say it anywhere. I mean, it doesn't say a pasuk that you have to say shloshim. Shloshim yamin olav yalif peh min nazir. You learn a shava of the word peda of nazir. What does it say about nazir? Ksiv hacha. It says by the Aveilus, when Ahad and Kohen's kids passed away, so died in the Mishkan. So the Moshe Rabbeinu tells them, "Mosheichem al tiflo, your hair, you should not make it grow wild." The Ksiv Hasam, and basically meaning that anyone else that has to sit shiva and shloshim would have to. Ksiv Hasam, and it says by a nazir, gadel peras ha'rosha, that a nazir has to grow his hair wild. And we know that a nazir is 30 days. Therefore, if the nazir is 30 days, and over there, peda, wild hair, means having hair 30 days long hair. So when Moshe Rabbeinu spoke to the Hadan HaKohen and his kids and said, don't grow wild hair, but everyone else has to grow wild hair for Aveilus, we're talking about 30 days. But now, how do we know nazir? The wild hair, what's 29, it's not wild, and the 30th, all of a sudden it turns wild. By nazir, how do we know? As soon as someone says I'm going to be a nazir, it means at least it has to be 30 days. My time, he should be holy, and here is Megamatya to loss and have Yudke, 15 plus 15 is 30. So the minimum of the Zilus is 30. And if from here we learn out by Shloshim, that Shloshim says Pera also means 30.
Interesting.
Okay.
To learn from a gematria.
Yeah. It's a kadush. Rav Huna, the son of Rabbi Shua, said, everyone agrees that if the third day of his Shiva is Erev Regel, if you're not to wash, doing Shiva not to wash, you can't wash until Erev Yontif, till Mamish, when Yontif comes in. The other son, I guess, of Rabbi Shua said, I saw Rav Papi and Rav Papa, the Yasvi v'Kamri, they were learning and speaking, and they said, Halach Rav Huna b'Rei Rav Shua, they said, Halach Rav Huna b'Rav Shua, that if on the third day of Shiva is Erev Yontif, you cannot wash until right before Yontif. Ikadamre, other people said that the story was a little bit different. That Nehemiah saw Rav Papi, Rav Papa, and Rav Huna Rav Shua, and all three said, side note, that if that's the case, you can't wash yourself until Erev Yontif, before Yontif.
The halacha, if someone gets up early from a shiva Erev Yontif,
I believe the halacha is that you're allowed to
right away?
I believe so. I believe.
But the shadow is if you could do it at 10 a.m. or at 1 p.m.
No. When someone gets up for Shiva, how long before Shiva Yontif did he get up? It's a very short time.
Before 12, let's say.
No.
You're saying, all right, that's true.
If someone has to sit until before Yontif, and so that what's it called? That yeah. Zakt.
Yes, okay, we do follow this.
We do follow the concept, but not 3 days. What's up with 3 days? Because it goes again to the.
If someone gets up early from Shiva.
Yeah. Later on, Rabbi Yochanan says that 3 days is lav dafka. It also includes this. That 3 days is lav dafka. Even what's it called? So even an oval that sits 1 day Shiva, you cannot take a shower in the morning. You has to wait till the right before Yontif. Abai asked the question of the Koviv Regel: if someone was buried during Yontif, Regel oile loy lemina shloshim or ein regel lemina shloshim. Is the regel counted? Is Yontif part of the shloshim? Well, not part of the shloshim. If you're looking at the chart, do we count from what's it called? Do we skip around? Lemin and Shiva loy boili. I'm not asking a question about Shiva, the loy nahagash mitzvah Shiva regel, because we don't. If someone dies during Yontif, we don't do Shiva, so we don't count the Shiva. We start only after Yontif. But kikami boili, what's my question? I mean, in shloishim, the konhagim mitzvah shloishim regel during Yontif. If Yontif falls out in the 30 days, there's a certain halachas that shloishim that you do keep, and I think shebetzino, certain things simchas. I guess you do keep. So Mela, do you count Yontif as part of the 30? And so do you the person passed away the first day of Yontif. So the after Yontif is over, do you start counting day 8 of shloishim, or do you have a different count? My Amalei, so he said, no, that's not counted. Auf dem hat gefragt, Akasha, Eswe. Akoibes Meister Schnee Yom Koim Regel. Someone dies 2 days for Yontif. Moed Chamish Yom Regel. He counts 5 days after Yontif. And during Yontif, that the Amlach has to be done by someone else. But his servants can work in his house. Betzino hidden.
Meaning he's still in Aveilus, Kilo?
Let's see what's going on here.
No, from Russia it's mashma that they're being menachem.
Yeah, but I was asking me I think we're going to stop here because my head's very good.
Shoi.
Go back to this wedding.
Could I just stop?
Yeah.